Yes, I'm going to call the meeting to order. As we now have a quorum. The first item of business is public comment. So we will now begin the public comment section of the business meeting. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the commission on matters of public concern. Please refrain from using this time to discuss disciplinary cases or topics currently covered by the commission's rulemaking or policy initiatives. If you would like to comment on rules and development, please visit our rules and progress page on our website to ensure your input is considered in the rulemaking process. We also encourage you to participate in our rulemaking workshops and hearings. To provide feedback on commission policies, guidelines, or interpretive statements, you can comment during one of the upcoming policy interested parties or policy committee meetings. The schedule for these meetings is available on our website under policy meetings. Additionally, the public may contact staff during normal business hours, and we welcome written comments at any time. Please note we will not be answering questions or responding during this period. Staff will be available after the meeting to assist with any inquiries. Each speaker will have 2 minutes. When it's your turn to comment, please state your name and any affiliation. Would anyone like to provide a comment at this time?
We do have one person signed in. Cindy, if you'd like to come up and speak. Good morning. My name is Cindy Hohenhaus. I'm co-chair of the advocacy organization Washington Patients in Intractable Pain, or WashPIP. We represent the patient voice anywhere opioid prescribing policy or best practices are discussed. Thank you for taking our comments today. Despite the careful rulemaking efforts of our medical boards and commissions, the Washington opioid prescribing rules have left an opening for the indiscriminate taper of patients for non-medical reasons. That gap needs to be closed. Providers erring on the side of caution will continue to apply arbitrary dose limits, especially when they are being compared to their peers in measurements of morphine equivalent dose, MED. Treatment to an acceptable dose versus treatment to patient outcomes harms patients with intractable pain. Let's further clarify the Commission's expectations on arbitrary dose limits and emphasis on patient outcomes through the interpretive statements. Neither the patient or the physician interpretive statements contain plain language calling out morphine equivalent dose. The only language representing this calculation is dosage or duration. We believe physicians need clear language. This is why we have submitted the following for both the patient and physician interpretive statements. To further clarify the established intent and scope, practitioners should avoid rigid MED requirements that may lead to the undertreatment of pain or the unnecessary tapering of patients who are stable in both pain levels and function. The Commission will evaluate a practitioner's treatment based on available documentation rather than solely on the quantity, duration, or morphine equivalent dose of prescribed medication. The goal is to manage the patient's pain while also addressing their overall well-being, including physical, psychological, social, and work-related factors. Thank you for your consideration today for this important clarifying language and our additional contributions to the interpretive statements today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Are there any other comments, Amelia?
There's no one else signed in. I don't see any hands raised.
So this concludes the public comment period. Thank you. On to the chair report. Unless you have a chair report, Dr. Domino, I have no report.
No, sorry to miss everybody. I'm at a very interesting meeting of medical board members in Dallas at the FSMB about USMLE and testing. So I'm sorry I can't be there, but next time I'll probably tell you about what I've learned today.
Thank you very much. The next item is consent agenda. Items listed here are considered routine agency matters and are approved by a single motion without separate discussion. If separate discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular business agenda. Are there any requested changes to the consent agenda? If not, we can entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as written.
So moved.
Second by Dr. Curry, thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item is approval of the March 14th, 2025 business meeting agenda. Oh, we did that. Approval of the January 10th, 2025 business meeting minutes, which are in your packet on pages 17 to 23.
You just approved those two items. Those are the two items on the consent.
Okay.
So we're just moving on to new business.
So on to new business, the nominating committee. The chair of the committee will announce the candidates for the following leadership positions: chair, vice chair, and officer at large. And this election of leadership will take place May 9th of this year at the business meeting. Who is speaking to that, please?
Dr. Jager, Dr. Chung is not here today. He indicated that you would be speaking on behalf of the nominating committee. Dr. Jager, can you hear us?
I'm sorry, did my name just get mentioned?
Yes, Dr. Jager, this is Kyle. Dr. Chung is not with us today for the nominating committee, and he indicated that you would be able to speak on behalf of that group.
I am happy to do so. Our committee met and after reviewing eligible applicants and speaking with potential candidates for positions, we have come up with the following recommendation. So our current recommendation is for Chair, Dr. Murphy, for Vice Chair, Mr. Lopez, and for Officer at Large, Dr. Mavundra.
Thanks, Dr. Jager. So per your bylaws, Dr. Murphy, you'll vote. The commission as a whole will vote at the business meeting on May 9th. If there are folks who are interested in serving in leadership or not one of the three nominees, they can feel free to talk at that meeting. Again, there will be a vote at that.
So no action needs to take place today.
Nothing else today.
Okay. Thank you. So the next item is the Outstanding Performance Awards. This is one of our favorite items every year, and Kyle will present.
Thank you. So for the benefit of everybody online and everybody in the room, on an annual basis, we put forth three people who have demonstrated outstanding performance over the 2024, in this case, year. The majority of the commission staff are largely unknown to you as commission members, but they're just as integral to the daily functions of the commission and the long-term goals as those of us like myself, Micah, Frida, Rick, Jimmy, and Amelia that you talk to all the time. And so about a decade ago, there was a move to put forth outstanding performance awards to recognize those staff that maybe aren't necessarily always in your direct view. I will say I'm exceptionally proud of the staff that over the last 7 years I've been here. The medical commission staff is truly top notch, and they're generally regarded they're generally kept in very high regard within both the department, but also our colleagues in other states. The medical commission is a leader in healthcare regulation, not just in Washington, but in the United States. And the major contributing factor to that are commission staff. As I mentioned, the Outstanding Performance Awards were created almost a decade ago in order to recognize those staff members for performance that reflects the dedicated, innovative, and customer-centered focus that the commission embraces. And as such, we have an annual award to one staff member in each of 3 separate categories. There's a recognition for our legal and compliance unit. There's recognition for investigations and complaint intake. And then there's a third that comprises our administrative sections, licensing, operations, and policy unit. Eligibility is any non-supervisory medical commission staff member, and they can be nominated for this by anybody. No staff member can win the award in 2 consecutive years. We weren't able to do this in person last year, unfortunately, but at the end of each of these 3 sections, I'm going to ask for a round of applause to acknowledge the efforts of these 3 staffers. And then the recipients that are here in person would oblige. It would be great to get a photo with the Eagles, which are trophies that are kept in the office that recognize this for everything. So without further ado, this individual has been a pivotal part of the success for all of the commissions since he came in 2022. I'm going to read directly from one of the nominations. He has significantly contributed to office morale through his consistent support and collaborative approach. A true team player, he is always willing to research, assist, and share his expertise on all matters related to IT software and hardware for both staff and commissioners. His approachable, kind, and understanding demeanor, paired with his open communication style, creates an environment where colleagues feel comfortable sharing their concerns, ideas, and projects without fear of judgment. His exceptional leadership during the department's asset coordinator inventory project was key to its success. His meticulous IT tracking system, coupled with his ongoing management of the Washington Medical Commission IT equipment, allowed us to deliver accurate device tags, serial numbers, and staff and location assignments for over 200 pieces of equipment, well ahead of the department's deadlines. He is always available and exhausts all options before finally saying. So, Dr. Murphy, it's my pleasure to recognize Ken Imes for the 2024 Outstanding Performance Award for the Administrative, Licensing, Operations, and Policy Staff category. Ken has been an invaluable resource and contributor to the commission staff, but maybe just as much to our commission members, who I know you are all familiar with Ken. He is always willing to go above and beyond to make sure our web of IT services and tech needs are running, and that is key to the over 80 of us that are involved with the commission's work. So, thank you, Ken. And Ken has consented to a picture with the eagle. This individual from Frida's team is being recognized for her exceptional dedication to providing outstanding customer service within the commission. She consistently goes above and beyond in ensuring that all interactions reflect her unwavering commitment to a customer-oriented approach. Given her post in complaint intake, she is frequently one of the very first people from the commission that callers and emailers encounter, and certainly one of the reasons we rarely get complaints about unhelpful or rude staff. Her professionalism and friendly demeanor turn challenging situations into positive experiences, offering solutions that are both effective and considerate of the customer's circumstances. She truly embodies the principles of customer service by focusing on those needs, creating lasting positive impressions, and maintaining the highest standards of integrity. Dr. Murphy, it's my pleasure to recognize Megan King for the 2024 Outstanding Performance Award for the Investigations and Complaint Intake staff. Megan is a shining example of a can-do attitude and makes the commission a better agency for the public to talk to. Thank you. And finally, from legal, the member we acknowledge from Rick's team today is a lawyer's lawyer. Since her arrival at the commission in 2023, she has been an invaluable member of the legal and compliance unit. Within months of joining the commission, she was handed some of the most complex and gnarly, it's a legal term required, cases with no complaint. She has pushed case after case over the finish line in her last 2 years, her previous 2 years with the commission. Her work on a summary restriction last fall was emblematic of her sense of commitment to patient safety. She handled a very complicated prescribing case involving multiple classes of controlled substances, but at the same time worked in tandem with the rest of the commission staff to craft an order that mitigated the impact to over 500 patients who were left, at least on an interim basis, without a provider. That effort was an example of the commission's work at its very best. It is my pleasure, Dr. Murphy, to recognize Lisa Krynicki for the 2024 Outstanding Performance Award for the legal and compliance staff. Lisa is an exceptionally talented attorney and couples that with a tireless work ethic. While we are all fortunate that she came over to the government side, Washingtonians are even more fortunate that she chose this path with all of us as a part of the commission's commitment to high quality healthcare and improving patient safety. She's not here today with us in person, but she is online. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, if we can get a brief picture with the Eagles and then we'll move on. Thank you, Ken.
Well deserved for everybody. Thank you very much.
Right?
All right, for some reason, investigation.
Your comments on this is obviously to
I keep it together.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle. Then the next item is petition for declaratory order. Is it you, Kyle, that's presenting this? Or
I'll
Heather?
talk briefly about it, and then I hope that Heather can offer some advice. So there is a provision in the Administrative Procedures Act that in instances where a member of the public feels like a rule needs to be revised, or a new rule needs to be adopted, or they have a general question on a legal matter with regard to rules, they can petition the commission for what's called a declaratory order that essentially says we're going to address this. Heather and I have talked briefly about the petition that you see in your packet. Amelia, can you help me here? Is it 88, page 88?
88 to 91.
Okay. Dr. David Penner has put forth a petition for a declaratory order dealing with the activities and licensure requirements for independent medical examiners. This is an issue that the commission has periodically been approached about I don't know that we have ever committed anything to rule. Additionally, and I'm going to let Heather talk here in a minute and kind of explain the finer points. The commission doesn't have jurisdiction over unlicensed practice. So the commission offering an opinion or adopting rules that seek to regulate people who are not licensed. And that seems to be the focus of Dr. Penner's petition. It's a little fraught. Again, Heather, if you want to talk about the rest, that would be great.
Yeah, so, Heather, can you use that? I'm sorry. Thank you. Yep. No problem. So, I don't think you've had a petition for declaratory order in many years, if at all. We had one recently in, osteopathic medical board. But in any event, I'm probably not going to get too much into the topic today, just on some procedural things that we need to accomplish today. So under state law, when an agency receives a petition like this, you have 15 days to notify interested parties. And then within 30 days, you have to do one of three things: either enter an order, or say that you will not enter an order, or set a time to hold proceedings at a later date. So my recommendation today is going to be for within the 15 days, have direct staff to notify interested parties, also notify the petitioner, and to set some time aside at your next business meeting in May to discuss and take public comment on the petition. And at that time, you can make the decision on whether or not you want to issue an order, decline to issue an order, and the date that will happen. And you have 90 days there's all these days, 90 days to set the further proceedings. So that May date will work. It's well within the 90 days. So that's what I would recommend that happen today. Just as far as some more information on this specific petition, it is asking for the commission to take a position on whether or not you believe or you require someone performing IMEs to be licensed in Washington. And so it is a question, I think, as Kyle said, that comes up from time to time. And so it probably is something you want to at least take a look at. And I can prepare some advice in the meantime between now and the next meeting to help you in your discussion at the next meeting. So I guess I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'm happy to answer, but I would ask that you consider voting today on setting that over and notifying interested parties and the petitioner of that date.
Are there any questions for Heather? Either from commissioners in the room or attending virtually? I see no hands. So can we have a motion to follow the advice as Heather described, to let interested parties and the submitter know by letter that we are in receipt and place it on the agenda for our May meeting? So, thank you, Mr. Lopez. Seconded by multiple people. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye, or raise your hand.
We're getting one big thing each morning.
Is there a question?
No, that's her rate.
She's just voting, okay. Any opposed? Motion carries, thank you. On to old business. The committee work group reports are in our packet. Are there any additional reports from committees and work groups? I hear none. Next item is rulemaking activities, and that is in the packet. Amelia?
Thank you, Dr. Murphy. So I have a request in the packet to initiate the next step in the rulemaking process, which is the CR 102 for establishing the use of nitrous oxide in office-based surgery settings. We've had several workshops about this. Dr. Domino's been very involved. And so the last workshop we had in the end of January, they voted to approve the language and move on to this next step. And the language is also in your packet. If you have any questions about that language, please bring them forward to me now. Because you are voting today. If you decide to approve the CR 102, you're voting that language to be permanent. And then we will have a hearing. I think it's scheduled tentatively for May the 9th.
Are there any questions for Amelia? Thank you for all the hard work on this, Dr. Domino and your committee. If there's no questions, can we have an order to initiate the CR 102 process for the nitrous oxide in office-based surgery settings?
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Lyle. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Any discussion? Not all in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is the Commissioner Code of Conduct. And I think, Ms. Blake, you're discussing that? Yeah.
I think I can take care of that, Dr. Murphy.
Oh, it's caught. Thank you.
So you have included in your packet at PDF page 47, the Commission's Code of Conduct. Your general provisions require the Executive Committee to review this on kind of an ongoing basis. They have done so. I have one recommendation for a change in word. But if there are other folks in the commission that want to talk about the Code of Conduct or have questions, now is your every 3-year time. We're a little bit overdue on it at this point. The one change that was suggested is in the policy section under number 1, the first bullet point. Instead of using the word decorum, there's a suggestion that we replace that with politeness. It's a little bit more modern word, less stuffy. But the rest of the Commission Code of Conduct is in front of you for your review and consideration.
Any questions or suggestions for amendment?
Dr. Murphy, if there's no questions or concerns, I think readoption and with changing out the word decorum for politeness, a motion would be welcome on that.
So thank you, Mr. Lopez. Second? Thank you, Ms. Blake. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. Thank you. Any opposed? Unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Bush, our research unit, we're excited to hear about this.
Good morning. So as you may remember, at our last business meeting, we set up a formal procedure for our research unit in terms of getting commissioners involved and having a more involved oversight process of our research. So I'm here today to look for volunteers to help with our first kind of official research project. This one is not as cumbersome as a peer-reviewed journal, but we have had 2 posters accepted by the Federation of State Medical Board for their annual conference. So what I'm asking for today is the details of these posters. The abstracts can be found on page 49 of your packet. And the one thing about this that isn't in your packet that you should know is that we have a very tight turnaround time for this. these posters need to go to the printer by the beginning of April so that they can be ready to go by the conference on the 21st. So if you have the time, it's not a lot of time. It's really going to be a review once a week until we submit the poster. So if you have time to provide input, that's what we're looking for. So we have 2 posters. The first one is working title is Practitioner Support Program, an alternative to discipline. The data here is a bit juvenile still. We don't have a lot of long-term outcomes. But Dr. Fino and I were at the Coalition for Physician Enhancement in Baltimore last year, where I gave a presentation of kind of the high level of what is our practitioner support program, what are we achieving with it, what do we hope to, and there was a lot of interest surrounding it. So we're going to make a poster basically saying, this is what it is, this is why we're doing it. These are the initial outcomes that we are seeing. And it's going to kind of be a high level look at the details for other boards potentially to model after. So that is the first poster. And the second one is analyzing reports of discrimination in healthcare. Again, just based off of a lot of chatter and interest against, we're one of the only states that codes our complaints as a discipline or as a discrimination related complaint. And we evaluate that accordingly. Again, the data here is a bit juvenile, but it's the process itself that the Federation is interested in, how we look at it, why we look at it, what makes it different from a standard of care complaint. So that's what we're going to be looking at, not so much the actual, these are the outcomes of these complaints. We had this, you know, it went to hearing, we're not going to focus too much on that. We're really going to focus on the why and the how of our discrimination complaints. So those are the 2 posters. I'm going to send out an email after this just for those who couldn't be here and everyone else. But right now, are there any questions or clarifying points that I can provide to you? And if there are any volunteers at this meeting, I would love it, but you can always let me know via email later.
Are there any questions for Jimmy? Okay, well, it was very exciting, so thank you for the hard work.
Thank you. Keep an eye out for the email and let me know.
On to the policy committee. Ms. Blake.
Good morning, thank you. And Jimmy, given that I'm on the FSMB committee for this conference, I would be happy to volunteer with you. And yes, I'm reporting on the policy committee that was held on February 27th. We went through several documents at that time. The first one, actually, we're recommending deferral. The policy has completed DOH secretary review process, and the policy is complaints against students, residents, and fellows.
Actually, the version that you requested to be updated is in the packet, so we can actually change deferral to action.
Okay. Then we can change that deferral to action at this meeting. Are there any questions? Micah, do you have anything else you want to say about this policy?
Just the updates that were requested. We clarified the fellow status based on the nature of the complaint and if it related to their fellowship training. We corrected the capitalization program director, I think. And we added promoting patient safety to the introduction and added some more human-centered language to the policy itself at the request of Dr. Conlon.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from anyone virtually? Have any questions or comments? Hearing none, then the committee recommends approving this document with the noted amendments. I ask for approval by show of hands. Any opposed? Any opposed virtually? Thank you for that approval. Our second document is sexual misconduct and abuse. And there were several noted amendments on this one too. As you can see, we had quite a bit of discussion. Micah, do you want to bring up anything on this particular, or Mr. Kerrigan?
Just the 3 points that you all asked for, which is we deleted abusive behavior by a practitioner or patients. It was redundant based off what the previous sentence was. Did a recheck to make sure that all of the references are to practitioner. And then there was a change in the Hippocrates reference quote at the top. That was I believe mischief was the word that was in contention. It seemed old fashioned. And I dove down the rabbit hole and learned all sorts of history about where it came from and how many times it's been revised over the years. So this is roughly from 1954, which is the most, I guess, solid reissue of that particular quote.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from anyone regarding this policy? Virtually, any comments or concerns? Then I recommend approving this document with the noted amendments. And please have a show of hands for those who approve. Any, that Dr. Jager has her hand up.
That's how she said yes.
Oh, that's your vote. I'm sorry, Dr. Jager. Thank you. Mistake two. Thank you. Then on to the next document. It's a policy on elective educational rotations. This document was reviewed as part of the scheduled four-year review process. And the committee does recommend approving it with the noted amendments and the title change as well. Hope you all had a chance to take a look at it, actually at all of these. Mr. Matthews, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Just a credit to Dr. Lyle for the title change in nomenclature. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
You suggested it, so I was, appropriated.
And I have a quick caveat, sorry. So you're voting, since it's the policy, you're willing to put it through the secretary review process.
Thank you for that. Any comments or questions from anyone virtually or present? Then what Amelia said, may I have? Show of hands, please. Thank you very much. Thank you, April. Won't make a mistake again. And our next document is an interpretive statement on opioid prescribing and monitoring for allopathic physicians and PAs. It was revised in response to the recent changes in the opioid prescribing rules, and as well as a public request. And we recommend approving the document as amended by the DOH Secretary. Mr. Matthews, do you have any comments? Anyone else have any comments, questions, or concerns? Virtually, I don't see any hands up either. And I request approval of the document as amended. With a show of hands, please. Dr. Trescott, is your hand up for voting or a question?
I'm copying April.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's rather
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. And I believe that is, we have one more, it looks like, or did we? Yes, one more interpretive statement. Opioid prescribing and monitoring for patients. Mr. Matthews, any comments on this? Thank you. Anyone else have any comments, questions or concerns? Anyone virtually? Dr. Curry.
I just want to make a comment that your committee and you have done an amazing amount of work. These policies are incredibly thorough and well written. So hats off for all 5 of these policies. I think they're amazing work. Well done.
Thank you. Yes, they have. I can't take credit for that. It's the committee's work. Dr. Domino?
Yes, I just want to thank the public for making a lot of these recommendations. We really appreciate your input into this policy.
Thank you, Dr. Domino. Hearing no other comments or questions, may I on a show of hands approval of the document as presented? Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Blake. Strong work. Thank you for all the commissioners and the public that contributed. On to the member reports. These, any commission members have any news to report? Karen, I know you're at the Federation of State Medical Boards, so it might be premature unless you have.
I can talk a little bit from this morning. They're basically, they invited commissioners to come to the FSMB headquarters, and apparently there's also a virtual component, which I didn't even know. But it's, I think, board members do participate in USMLE exams. They're involved in all their committees and so I haven't hit the part where they're asking us what we want to do and why they had us here, because the presentation has been largely about how the USMEs are developed. I think they do want to find board members who may write questions for them and develop some of the things, like the step 3 is amazing now. They have whole clinical scenarios that go in that are computerized and that they score people on the it's very different than when I took it, which were also in the pen and the pencil and little paper time. So I'll be able to say more, but you might think about it, because they do have board members involved in these things. They have over 400 people involved in working on USMLEs. But I don't know what else they want other than the morning was basically presentation of all the parts and things. So anyway, interesting conference.
Yeah, they'll definitely want to hear more when you come back. Any other commission members have anything to share? Great. And now the staff member reports. Their reports are on pages 75 to 85, but is there anyone that would like to share something in person? Kyle?
I have two things, Dr. Murphy. The first of which is, this will probably be the last time that we see everybody in person for FSMB and the annual meeting in Seattle. I look forward to it. It's going to be a really wonderful conference this year. We have a couple of members of the commission that are going to be presenting and speaking. In addition, Dr. Domino is going to be providing some welcome remarks after Congresswoman Kim Schreier, who is a physician, welcomes everybody to Seattle. So I look forward to seeing everybody. We have a number of people going from both the commission and the staff. So if you have questions about travel, if you have concerns or any questions whatsoever, or you can places to eat in Seattle, please feel free to reach out. Dr. Domino will be providing restaurant recommendations at some point, I'm sure. But I look forward to seeing everybody there. It's a really good conference this year. The second thing is just a reminder that we do have lunch and learn, and it is you are able to attend virtually for those folks in the virtual world. In the aftermath of a case last fall that we worked on, Dr. Murphy, you were the reviewing commission member. We periodically get cases that are referred to us that involve care that's provided at Department of Corrections facilities. And so I reached out because the conclusion of that particular case was that it was definitely a systematic issue within DOC that led to the complications that the patient suffered. So I reached out to the medical staff at DOC and said, please come and talk to the commission members and explain how you're structured and explain your procedures, because when we get these cases with 10,000 pages of handwritten chart notes, it's a little bit like being dropped into a different world for the commission, certainly the staff. And it would be helpful for us to have an overview of your system. And so Dr. Marianne Curl is coming this afternoon along with one of her partner administrators in DOC, and she's going to provide that overview. I've talked to her a couple times, as has Stephanie. She's really engaging, and I think it's going to be really helpful to those commission members who receive cases. But I think it's even more important to get a kind of bird's eye view into the DOC system as a whole, because frankly, I don't know that we really understand it very well from a regulatory standpoint. So please, again, attend if you're at all able, because I think it'll be useful. Dr. Curl has said she's more than happy to take questions, and she looks forward to engaging with not only the medical commission staff, but certainly really the medical commission members on what they're doing in DOC. So thank you.
Kyle, will you
Yes, ma'am.
record it? Because it will be helpful to people like me who are away or to new commissioners.
Yes, Dr. Domino, it will be recorded.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that because I think every single commissioner needs to hear this information. Mr. Matthews.
Yes, ma'am. So just as an FYI, this session, Department of Corrections actually put forward a bill that would not require them, or no longer require them to have Department of Health facility licensing or inspection for their facilities. I don't know the status of that bill right now, just as an FYI, that's in the mix. And then this is just an amendment to my staff report because at the time that I wrote it, as Amelia knows, I write it at the very last possible second. And it's naturally, because of the session, it's out of date. So just to update our request legislation, which is House Bill 1640, that provides a technical update to the Uniform Disciplinary Act. It's adding the two compact provisions to a listing of the covered professions in the Uniform Disciplinary Act. So that has passed the House, and it has a Senate hearing in the Senate Healthcare Committee next week. Taylor Nixon will be testifying. Senate Bill 5118, which updates the International Medical Graduate Clinical Experience License, passed the Senate last week and had a hearing just this morning in which Fatima Mirza did a great job testifying. So I want to give her some credit there. The bill received no opposing testimony and was generally well received in the committee. As far as budget, there are some items in my staff report, but I do want to just let you all know we are meeting and emailing with legislators to encourage our budget requests to be included in the House and Senate budget. For your information, part of it was included in the Inslee budget proposal. None of it was included in the Ferguson budget proposal. I want to be clear that that's more of an optics issue rather than a need or usefulness issue. So they took a swipe across the board basically to everybody in the healthcare setting, regardless of fund source or need or reason. So that's not to say that they didn't view what we asked for as valid. So we are working to get that included, and should it move forward, we will be able to help the organization forward. Just as a FYI on some dates, March 18th is the next economic forecast we're expecting. We do expect the economic forecast for the state to get worse. The following week is when we will likely see the House and Senate budgets proposals come out. At that point, I will just go ahead and say that in the media and elsewhere, you are going to see disagreement and acrimony from both sides of the aisle. That's just a given, especially given the fact and the scope and the size of the deficit that they're dealing with. April 2nd is the last day for policy bills to get out of the committee. And then April 16th is the last day for them to get out of their opposite house. So if you have a bill that hasn't passed out in this opposite house, it's dead unless it's necessary to implement the budget. And then April 27th is the last day of session, which you'll notice is right around FS&B. So we will either get good news that they have passed a budget that works, or we will get the news that I'm expecting, which is they're going to call a special session, because I can't remember a time when there's been a deficit this large, and if it has been this large, there's never been a time where they've agreed and on time. So likely you're going to see a special session for this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matthews. Any other staff member reports? Yes, Amelia.
I just wanted to call your attention to the correspondence that's included in the packet. We include that as informational. It is just correspondence we receive, which doesn't really relate to a lot of things. It's just something that usually the public wants us to let you guys know. And instead of sending you individual emails, we'll just include it in a business meeting packet. So I just wanted to call your attention to that section of the packet.
Yeah, I noticed that and we appreciate that. The AAG report. Ms. Carter.
Yeah, not really a report, but just a reminder, kind of following on with Kyle's, talking about the FSME. Just the Open Public Meetings Act, a reminder, if there is a quorum, you're allowed to travel and go to things together. But if you do have a quorum, present at FSME, which would be 11 members, be sure that you're not discussing, any commission business. Just keep it light and, talk about Seahawks or the Mariners, they look horrible, but anyway. Don't talk about commission business if you've got a large group of commissioners all together, just a reminder.
Good reminder, thank you. Is there anything else for the good of the order? Yes. Mr. Lopez.
Yes, good morning. As a commissioner, I'd like to first of all thank the staff for the tremendous work that they do. It is my sense that we currently have a culture in our country that is a culture of fear regarding loss of jobs and the economic status. Also, my sense is that we now have that same culture in our state. And I want to make sure that staff understands that we as commissioners are well aware that you are under potentially a tremendous amount of stress, potential anxiety, both professional and personal perhaps. But we want you to know that we support you. We are grateful for the work you do. And we will continue to support you in any way that we can. So again, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Anything else? Hearing none and seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
There's pie, make sure you eat pie.
Yeah, okay, I did.
Thank you.